Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 10917 Northeast Eugene Street here in Portland. We are located at the right side of the home, and I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the house. So we're on the front yard side of the fence. There's the street there. Big 4-inch ABS cleanout. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out at the base of the cleanout. Off we go here. And you've actually got another cleanout, which is set up much more like an RV dump. It's at the back of the home, in kind of the back patio area. It's right up against the foundation wall. It looks much more like a storm system cleanout than sewer because of how close it is to the house. Anyway, that is actually tied into the sewer line. It'd probably work as an RV dump. It's also an extremely convenient point of access, as long as it doesn't route you through too many turns. As far as cleaning a sewer line goes, it's really nice to be able to go in one direction with flow throughout the entire line. It's a unique thing. Alright, so we do have some roots punching through here, unfortunately, at 32 feet. For instance, if you were cleaning these out, I always recommend repairs first and foremost on root intrusion. These are something I'm going to recommend repairs on. But if for some reason repairs don't happen, cleaning out here, for instance, would be easier to do from where I'm going through right now. But if you ever needed to deal with interior pipe, that other cleanout's the one you'd want to go through. It looks like, I think we've got two of them back to back. Yeah, it looks like there's another root right here. The line is settled. My camera right now is upside down. That's why the water line's overhead. Oh, dang, there's a bunch of them in here. Okay, now we're swapping, it looks like, over to concrete. So that transition, generally speaking, in this part of town usually happens at the street curb. It might be at the right-of-way, but we've got at least a few of them on property here. So first and foremost, I recommend repairs. If for some reason repairs do not happen, obviously we want to get those things cut out of there so the line is free-flowing and they're not at risk of running, catching debris coming down the line. It's one of those processes that if you go that route, it is something you got to keep up on. Generally speaking, what I recommend is cleaning them at the time of the sale. So you move in with a nice free-flowing line, and then you want to re-scope a year later. That's to get a baseline for how quickly the roots are regenerating. Some roots grow back very quick and aggressively, and some take some time. So it's worth knowing that just from the standpoint of knowing how frequently you want to be doing root cutting type maintenance. A lot of folks do it every 1 to 2 years, but it does depend on the species of tree. Anyway, we're at the main here at 63 feet. We're going to go locate that real quick while the line drains off. Alrighty, so overall, where I just located out in the street there on Northeast Eugene, when I turn around and look back at the house, I'm basically staring straight back at the clean out. The line doesn't run dead straight, but overall, it ends up moving pretty dang straight from that standpoint. Alright, about 6 foot 9 inches deep here, and I'm picking the locate up right now just past. There's a little retaining wall at the front of the property. This is oriented up against the right side of the property. You'll see a green X marking there, about 6 foot 9 inches deep approximately. My camera is partially situated under that wall. Sometimes that will throw the locate off a little bit. And, especially if this requires, being that it is where it's at, in fact, the city may force it these days. I know that anytime you have to do repairs in the right-of-way now, they make you do larger sections. It's the time to update all the way up to the face of the curb. It would be a hugely missed opportunity. And it's really not going to, it shouldn't be adding major costs onto things. But nowadays, I think the city actually, you have to check with them, but anytime you start doing repairs in the right-of-way now, In a lot of cases, they don't allow for spot repairs. You have to actually do a full-length section. So just be aware of that. But it is the time to do it. Right now, the line transitions to concrete pipe, basically right at the sidewalk edge, not at the curb. And to be honest with you, when you have live trees like this around, you don't want to have transitions to concrete pipe anywhere near a tree. Transition joints are the weakest joints in the line to roots by a country mile. So ideally you want to get that out at the face of the curb to isolate it as far away from the roots as possible to begin with. So I just pushed out here. This is the tail end of a belly in the line. There's kind of a combo here of roots and a belly. That's what the standing water dissipates. That is right next to one of the large trees out front here. And at first I thought we just had roots here, or we had roots, but that debris there may simply be from the standing water. Either way, if you're out here doing this much digging that close by, there's absolutely no reason not to fully correct that. We got roots there at 32 feet. I believe we have another one back in here. So I'm just going to recommend this whole section basically from root to root, or the first root to the last root, get updated. You know, if the repair guys want to try and spot repair them, I'll try and locate on that slope there. For some reason, I thought we had one closer back in here. I'm getting right. I located by that belly there. My locate was coming in at 9 feet deep. I'll watch as this thing dives. I mean, it dives pretty good right here. That almost feels overly deep for what we're dealing with, but it does dive like crazy. So I'm going to pull the top of the drop. I'll see out anytime I'm locating on almost a vertical drop like that, the locate can often come in wonky. The signal projects out of the ground kind of weird, so I'm going to pull up to here, and then I'll try and guesstimate the depth by dropping back down. All right, so what I did here is I located here, and then I adjusted the marking forward about 1 foot. That might be off just slightly, but I'm accounting for the fact the line doesn't dive perfectly straight down. It's diving at a very hard angle. But I was getting about 4.5 feet deep there. So when you take into account, let's see here, we're about basically right at 28 feet on the nose. By the time you level off down here at the bottom, yeah, we did quite a bit of diving there. So it's, again, not perfectly straight down. So that 9 foot deep mark actually is looking, sometimes you get interference with utilities and things like that, but that's feeling about right there, about somewhere in the 9 foot deep category. Yeah, I just tried to locate here. I can't even really get a signal. The camera is in a situation right now where the signal's projecting forward rather than up towards the surface. So anyway, I recommend a repair there from around the bear with me, sorry. I wrote down 28 feet, but that root's, I think, at 31 feet. And they're closer to 32. So essentially from at least 32 feet to 44 feet, just because the depths and everything you're working with, that's at minimum probably going to be one continuous repair across that section from 32 to 44 feet. Again, you may very well have to take that repair all the way to the street curb. I think the city nowadays, once you start getting into the right-of-way, they often don't allow you to do a good old-fashioned spot repair. You have to do larger sections. So either way, it's the time to take that repair all the way to the curb to help prevent future root intrusions. Not that guarantees anything, but it puts that transition joint especially in a much better location. Anyway, the rest of the line we scoped, they're outside those areas. In good shape, has good flow. You know, the concrete pipe is on the sidewalk right now that is in homeowner responsibility. It's in half decent condition, but it's just the time to update. Even if the city didn't make you do it, it would be a hugely waste opportunity to bust the sidewalk up and not update that last 5 feet or so to the curb. That's the hard part anyway, is getting the sidewalk up. Once that's done, the rest of it's just digging slightly further.